so burnt out from work that even on the weekends, I do not feel like I am resting.
Younger Americans are experiencing what they call peak stress, and they're experiencing it earlier than anyone. Most people burn out at around 42 years old, but for Gen Z and millennial adults, this happens much younger, at 25 years old.
Wow. I've been going through something. 1,855 days.
What's your credit score?
Bro, I have $10 to my name. Who cares about some fake number?
You should care if you ever want to buy a house.
I'm never gonna own houses, man. Capitalism.
Gen Z is now the most burnt out generation, close to clinical levels of distress at work.
The average Gen Z worker would have to save 100% of their income for over 8 years just to afford their first home.
You have endless options and somehow I still feel trapped. And I keep asking myself, like, is this it? This doesn't feel like it's a temporary thing, though. This doesn't feel like it's fixable. This just feels like it's my life now.
The economy is so bad, you may as well just chase your dreams. And getting a regular job feels the same level as impossible, so just do something you're passionate about. Do you really want to spend all your time praying to the corporate god, oh, please give me a job, sir? Or do you want to have fun? Find your own meaning in life. Do something you actually care about with the rest of your time.
Locking in is starting to just become a way to internalize hustle culture, and you can't live in this society. Either you are in poverty or you're rich. Look around you. Look at the economy. Look at the loneliness epidemic. Look at where we're at post-pandemic. Look at the world. It's getting harder and harder to live. Things are getting more expensive. Businesses are getting harder and harder to operate. Trump is president again. Look at where we're at politically, economically, and ask yourself, is Gen Z really lazy? Is Gen Z really immature and just doesn't want to work? Or is Gen Z already burned out and doesn't really understand how it's possible to do all the things that are required to be an adult in the modern world when they're already exhausted, they're already at the end of their rope? Younger generations are on a fast track to become exactly like their parents, burned out, unfulfilled, to have abandoned all of their personal pursuits, and to just be a wage slaver in our crushing late stage capitalist economy. I just got finished reading Tricia Hersey's Rest is Resistance, and I have a lot of thoughts. So what even is rest? What does rest even look like in a capitalistic society? If you're a person who watches my channel, you might be able to relate to this, but just like this feeling that like you need to be doing more. Like this, it's never enough. You need to be working 3 jobs. You need to have a side hustle. You need to start a business. You need to be making content. You need to be doing something else to try to make money because things are just getting so hard right now. And even if you do have a great job, you have a cushy corporate job, or you work in the healthcare industry, or you work in tech, if you have a good job and you feel good about where you're at, you are still feeling the stress of the hustle culture that comes with the corporate world, working a 9 to 5, just like how limited your free time really is. So reading this book really sealed the deal for me in a lot of ways when it comes to liberation and what that could look like. So number 1, rest is a rejection of grind culture. The work of millions of enslaved Africans that were taken over during the transatlantic slave trade. They are the ones who built the wealth in this country. They are the ones who made America great in the first place. And that is how this country built up so many of their industries, is because they didn't have to pay for labor. So capitalism equates productivity with value. The enslaved people that were doing this work, if you didn't work hard, if you didn't have a high yield and you weren't productive, you got in trouble. Obviously, slaves received horrible, abusive, dehumanizing treatment, and in order to survive, you had to be productive. That's the framework that they're in, and that is wired and woven into capitalism, and it's wired and woven into our DNA as people of color. It's not just the descendants of African slaves, it's also people all over the world who felt like their only option was to do farm agricultural labor or work in a factory or work in a coal mine or whatever it is. They felt they had no other choice but to do these very dangerous jobs. At the forefront of the fashion industry is an example that's coming to mind of how they have children in sweatshops and people working for pennies in sweatshops in China. It's not something that only happened to African slaves. It's something that's still happening today. And it's crazy because capitalism, it just makes you feel like if you're not productive, you're worthless. You're not worthy of a good life. You're not worthy of rest. You're not worthy of recreation. You're not worthy of taking a vacation. You just feel like you haven't earned it yet. You don't deserve to enjoy life until you have reached some imaginary pinnacle. And that's the lie that capitalism sells us, is that if you work work hard, you can be wealthy and enjoy things. And that's just not true. You don't enjoy life. You never actually arrive anywhere unless you allow yourself to. Number 2, exhaustion is a personal failure. Capitalism teaches us to only rest so that we're better workers. So you eat something so that you have the energy to keep working. You sleep so that tomorrow morning you are more productive. And I'm sure they pushed Black people to the limit during slavery and tried to figure out how much a human body could take before it just ceases to be productive at all, because that was all Black bodies were for at that time. They were just treated as machines. I think a lot of us have that internalized system. We work from sun up to sundown. Like, phones were supposed to be like a tool for productivity, but it honestly feels like now you can be on the clock 24/7, especially if you're someone like me, a freelancer. From the moment you pick up your phone in the morning, you're already thinking about ideas for content, or clients are emailing you or texting you, and you can already get involved in that. It requires you to be a lot more intentional about how you are disengaging, because the phone is literally constantly with you. It's always in your face. Rest is not restorative or indulgent. It's only used, up to this point, it's only been used as a way to be more productive, because we are so locked into that capitalistic framework. Everything that we think, believe, feel, do falls under the framework of capitalism. If we're taking a break, we're taking a vacation, we're taking a rest, the only reason we're doing that is so that we can come back and really grind, really lock in on our goals. Locking in is starting to just become a way to internalize hustle culture. And when Gen Z discovered hard work, that was like locking in, right? But then lock in became a concession, a submission, I guess, to the dominance of capitalism and the irrefutability of it, and just like the fact that there's nothing we can do about it. So let's just lock in. Let's lock in and grind and try to become a millionaire, because what other option do you have than to be rich? You can't live in this society. Either you are in poverty or you're rich. It really is no in between anymore, because even the middle class is living paycheck to paycheck and dipping into their savings. Biohacking and taking cold showers and breath work and meditation and things like that. I'm even guilty of selling that as a solution to very real feelings of burnout or depression. Biohacking is really just health disguised as more capitalistic propaganda. Productivity hacks. If you learn how to like hack your body, convince your body that you're actually energized, then you can go and be more productive. All this shit, it's so toxic when you really think about it, because capitalism wants us to burn ourselves out. It wants us to grind ourselves into dust and convinces us that it's healthy, that it's the right thing to do, it's morally right. Don't get me started on religion. She talks about academia a lot. She doesn't talk about religion enough, in my opinion. She talks about it a little bit at the beginning, how a lot of people of color, especially Christians of color, fall into this trap of salvation by works. If you hustle and grind and serve your community and are very active in the church and are a resource for everybody and you're on call basically 24/7, how it's really just more capitalist brainwashing. It's just another way that we're burning ourselves out. I don't believe that God or the universe wants that for us. Until we have decolonized ourselves and unraveled all of the propaganda that capitalism has instilled in us, how can we really say safely that that's not what it is? Number 3 is listening to your body. Many people do not take time off until they are sick, until they are in crisis, and their body literally shuts down on them and forces them to stop what they're doing. I honestly think that depression is your body's way of telling you to stop as well. Rest is not just a physical thing that you do when you're tired, but it's a spiritual practice. It's something that you can do in a lot of different ways, and you get to define for yourself. If rest is a spiritual practice, then that means not resting can not only hurt you physically, mentally, emotionally, but it can hurt you spiritually. I do believe that sicknesses, illnesses, ailments are the physical manifestation of some spiritual misalignment or spiritual block. Through resting, through taking intentional rest, Tricia Hersey proposes that we can reconnect with our joy, our peace, our spiritual alignment, and a more fulfilling existence. Number 4, collective rest over individual optimization. The goal of collective rest is community actualization, a better world where everyone is treated fairly, everyone is treated equally, everyone has equal opportunity, equal access to the tools and strategies and resources they need to create a personally fulfilling life that not only enriches themselves, but the world around them. No one is being stepped on or shat on or disregarded. When each of us make a decision to rest, disconnecting, logging off, going off grid, going back into nature, when we make a decision to rest, it shouldn't be about individualistic grind or leveling up. I think it's so funny how on social media, so many creators and influencers will take their phone out into the middle of nowhere and still be recording themselves. Just put your phone down and go for the hike. The fact that you need to take your phone with you is putting up red flags in my mind, because it's like, I'm all for romanticizing your life. I'm not saying it's wrong. I think that our obsession with making content about everything we're doing and every thought that pops into our heads is another example of how capitalism is just so internalized, because I think about it all the time. I want to just have my own thoughts. I want to just have my own experiences. I want to take pictures and not post them online. I honestly think that that's gonna become something that's cool or like avant-garde, interesting and different and quirky. People are turning to the internet to make money because the job market is so bad, and we have to be trading ourselves and selling ourselves constantly if we are gonna make it at all. I'm definitely guilty of this, exploiting my creative breakthroughs on social media. Every time I get an idea, I'm like, dude, I gotta make a video about that. There are some times where I'm having thoughts and I'm like, damn, what if I let this thought actually marinate instead of immediately sitting in front of a camera and recording myself? I think we should explore that more instead of constantly needing to always be trying to flip something. Every time you get an idea, you're like, oh, I gotta do something with this. Maybe you should sit and let that idea marinate. Sometimes you gotta sit in silence and meditate and rest and just not be so quick to get on a hustle, because it really is rooted in generational trauma. It's rooted in slavery. It's rooted in colonization and white supremacy and capitalism. And it doesn't even just have black people and people of color in a chokehold. It's got white people in a chokehold. Everyone is burned out and no one is happy, and society needs a radical shift. And I do believe that rest is part of that. Because of capitalism, at a certain point, you have to be doing something to make money constantly. You can't do nothing. When the job market gets tight, when like it is right now, where there are lots of qualified candidates but not enough open positions, this is where we get this bottleneck where people are turning to self-employment, they're turning to gig work, they're turning to freelancing and content creation. And most jobs, they're so behind. They don't understand that things can be remote. They want everyone to go back to the office. It's just so stupid. They don't really want you to be a well-rested, well-rounded person. They want you to be a slave to their interests, to their business goals, their marketing goals. Resting can look like a lot of different things, but for most people, for you, maybe it's just about finding the time. How do you find the time to rest when you have so many responsibilities and life just seems to be getting more and more convoluted, and it's getting harder, not easier? Technology and AI and all that is supposed to make our life easier, but it seems like it's getting harder and harder to find the will to do a lot of things. At some point, you have to decide that you're not going to be complicit in a system that doesn't give a fuck about you. At some point, you have to decide that this is not right. Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean that it's right. And just because everyone believes that our sole purpose is to work and make money and be productive doesn't mean that that's true. Propaganda exists. And I just think that we should think a little bit more deeply about what it is we're doing and whether or not it's right. Does it feel right to you in your body? Or have you just sold yourself out for so long you can't fathom another way? A big thing that she just talked about in the last part of the book was imagination and creativity, and how that is one of our major ways to fight back, which is why I love that people want to be content creators. I love that people are pursuing their ideas for business and making art and trying to go full time with their for art. I love stuff like that. And I also love that people are just picking up more hobbies and being more recreational. I think if we lean more into just doing what the hell we want, I do think we will see changes. I do see society changing already. I feel it. I can feel their values are shifting more and more. Things are really heavy right now, I think, in society. I'm getting the sense that things are getting harder and harder and people are losing hope. But I think that we have to love ourselves and take intentional time away from all the news that's on social media. And just like when George Floyd passed away and there were all these riots in the streets, using social media, being on social media just was a really intense thing. And it's okay to take a break from stuff like that. Come away from it and meditate and journal about it, pray about it, whatever it is that works for you. When people are saying all these upsetting things online and expressing their anger for a certain situation, I don't think that you need to be involved in that. You can have your feelings about it, but let's not stay productive, but let's be solution focused, I guess, and think about what really is the solution to these things as opposed to getting all emotional, because that's exactly what they want you to be: emotional, afraid, angry, and stuck. If you want to support the channel, check out my Patreon. It'll be linked in the description down below. If you like this discussion and you want to join in more discussions, subscribe to the channel. I don't want to ever make it seem like I have all the solutions, because I don't. I'm on a journey just like you guys, and I guess my point is I just want us to go on the journey together. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.